Good evening. Welcome to the McCarthy Observatory and our second Saturday Stars presentation for April 2019. I'm Monty Robson, the director of the observatory, and this is our fourth annual State of the Earth presentation, and likely to be my last. The title of this presentation is not very accurate, since the state of our physical planet is just fine. We and our companion moon are in a stable orbit around a stable and long-lived star, the sun. It's the biosphere, the thin layer surrounding Earth's surface that is home for all presently known life in the universe, which is in trouble. This trouble has been caused by us, and it's called anthropogenic climate disruption. So, I'm going to tell the truth as well as I know it tonight, and I'll try my best not to cry, and also not to cuss in anger of this situation we're in. But I can't guarantee either. This will be a hard presentation to give and to hear. So I'll give you a moment to decide whether you want to stay or you'd rather leave. It can be upsetting to some, maybe not to others. But it'll be the truth is best as I can describe it. Okay. Well, let's see if this all works tonight. So here we are, the beautiful image of our only home, taken by the Apollo 17 astronauts on their way to the moon. What I like about this, not only is it beautiful, I mean, it's stunningly beautiful, even though most of what you see is desert. But look, they couldn't have done it better. Here, in East Africa, the birthplace of our species, Homo sapiens. Here, Mesopotamia, between the Tigris and the Euphrates. Iraq, now that we just almost wiped off the map. The birthplace of the agricultural revolution. Down here is Antarctica, which is in trouble now. If all the ice melts in Antarctica, and it might just, it's going to add 200 feet to the sea level. So, oops, that's not the right one. There we go. Anthropogenic climate disruption or climate change is real and it's man-made, and anyone who denies it is either a liar or dim-witted or both. It's not just real, but it's here now and it's affecting people and the rest of the biosphere. It's happening at a much greater rate than the conservative IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change of the United Nations, had been predicting. And it's accelerating. It looks like the governments of the world will continue along with their business as usual routine and not take the immediate forceful action required to mitigate this global emergency. So, you have to understand that the Earth and its biosphere are finite. This means that everything is interconnected. And any change that occurs anywhere in this closed system will affect everything else in the system to some degree or another. This is true whether or not we can observe or even measure the effects. So every time you turn on the television and some business pundit is talking about how we need growth, we need growth in the economy, it's our fault. There's some chairs up here if you want. It's our fault for setting up a stupid system of economics that is unstable and it depends on growth. So I ask you, how can you have perpetual growth on a finite earth? You can't. It's stupid to even consider that you can. But without growth, our system stops or has a bad day. Anyway, this slide is from NASA Goddard. It covers the Earth's temperature from 1880 to 2018. 1880 is the date most scientists use for when there were enough weather reporting stations around the world to be able to have good worldwide temperature data from accurate instruments. There are many places that have accurate weather records going a century or more before 1880, like Connecticut. You know, Yale, they've been logging the weather since the 1770s. England, other places, but not enough for the whole world. So 1880 is when they start. So you can see that the temperature's been increasing for most of this time, and recently the curve is starting to look exponential. I mean, that's going almost straight up. The fact is that the 4 hottest years on record were the last 4 years, going back to 1880. Here are the 14 weather or climate-related disasters that took place last year. You know, Hurricane Florence and Hurricane Michael, a snowstorm around here, the California wildfires. My goodness. What?
The microburst last year, last May.
I'm sorry, say it again, please.
The microburst of May.
Oh, yeah, that could be the central and eastern severe weather in May 13th through 15th. Look, this observatory and that high school building have been here since 2000. This microburst here, right there, this one, northeast, no, that's a winter storm, this one here, May 13th to 15th. That microburst took the roof off of parts of the high school building. Never happened before. So that's how strong it was. Okay. So we'll go to this slide. Now this is also from NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration. This slide shows the frequency of billion-dollar loss events by year. Okay? So I'll go down it with you from the top. So there were 16 billion-dollar events in 2011 and 2017. 15 in 2016, 14 in 2018, 12 in 2008, 11 for 2012, including, Sandy, right? 10 in both 2013 and 2015, 8 in 2014, and 7 in 1992. The yearly average is just over 6 events per year, causing billion-dollar losses. There are 2 already. Whoopsie, what did I do? There, okay. Hit the wrong button. There are 2 in 2019 already. The total from 1980 to this month, see, this was put out April 9th, to this month is 246 events, and the total damage costs exceed $1.6 trillion. And also along with that was a good deal of lives lost. 1.6 trillion. And most of it, as you can tell, was in the last decade. Here was one of the 2 2019 billion-dollar events. In fact, it was a multi-billion-dollar event. Each of the states, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, and I think Missouri also had $1 billion each. This is from the flooding. So look, this was the day the floods happened. They called it a bomb cyclone that hit that area when there was still snow on the ground. And it was a lot of rain and a lot of it melted. And look, over here they say flood category, minor, moderate, major. Look at the purple, major. Well, I'll tell you what, it wasn't just major, it was historic. It was historic. The National Weather Service and I don't know who else, NOAA, again, maintains flood gauges on most all those rivers. Some of them have only been there 10 years or so. Some of them have been there well over 100. And you can look on their website and at any particular of those gauges, and it'll show you the levels for minor flooding, moderate flooding, and major flooding. And then it'll show you a historic crest, the highest that river has been since measurements have been taken. This 2019 spring flood on March 21st, lots of those gauges were well over the historic crest. So this was historic flooding, not just a little rain. So, but look where it happened. Where did this happen? In the American Midwest. The breadbasket of the world. Right? Now, that's what we used to call it. And so a lot of the winter wheat was wiped out. A lot of the other farmers, especially along the rivers, they're not even going to plant this year. It's not going to dry out enough for them to even plant. So not just the economics, we lost, the world lost a lot of food. Okay, so on March 14th, a little bit earlier than that, cyclone, it's pronounced Idai, hits Mozambique and the neighboring countries in Southeast Africa. This is the strongest storm ever to hit the southern hemisphere. They don't know how many have died. They can't get to all the people yet, and it's been almost a month. They think more than 1,000 people probably died in Mozambique alone. Tanzania, we don't know about. But the rain produced an inland sea of over 3,000 square kilometers that was 6 meters, 20 feet deep. It wasn't a little event. It's strongest storm ever to hit in the southern hemisphere. So, okay. Homo sapiens is the name, the binomial for our species, and it means Latin. It comes from the Latin for wise or knowing man. So some people get upset to hear that we're animals. But what do you think we are, plants? I mean, come on. We are animals, there's no doubt about it. In the kingdom of Animalia. And you go on down, Mammalia. Yes, we're mammals. Order primates, yeah. Infraorder simiforms. Simian is for apes. So the bonobos and the chimpanzees are our closest relatives. And here we are down here, Homo sapiens. But I am here to tell you, from what I've seen, researching this, I don't think there's many Homo sapiens left. So I've called them the Homo stupidus. Has taken over worldwide. So like it or not, we are animals and we require a healthy biosphere to exist. We can't eat rocks. The biosphere has to produce organic food. Now the rule of threes, I don't know if you know about these are approximations, of course, everyone's a little bit different. With no air to breathe, we can last about 3 minutes. With no shelter, if you're out in a winter storm, you can live about 3 hours. With no water to drink, you can survive about 3 days. With no food, you can survive about 3 weeks. The biosphere provides all of those items to us for free. I'll read you some of this. I'll read down here the significance. The strong focus on species extinction, a critical aspect of the contemporary pulse of biological extinction, leads to a common misimpression that Earth's biota is not immediately threatened, just slowly entering an episode of major biodiversity loss. This view overlooks excuse me. This view overlooks the current trends of population declines and extinctions. Using a sample of 26,600 terrestrial vertebrate species and a more detailed analysis of 177 mammal species, we show the extremely high degree of population density or decay in vertebrates, even in the common species of low concern. Dwindling population size and range shrinkages amount to massive, come on, what is this now? I'm sorry. Population sizes and range shrinkages amount to a massive anthropogenic erosion of biodiversity and the ecosystem services essential to civilization. This biological annihilation underlines the seriousness for humanity of Earth's ongoing 6th mass extinction event. Now, Martin Rees, who I've heard talk, and I've heard these words out of his mouth, the Astronomer Royal, of the United Kingdom gives our species only a 50-50 chance of being around by the end of the century. Many people are now mentioning possible extinction these days. One biologist even says it could happen very soon, within 3 to 5 years. I don't think he's correct. But the fact is, so many scientists are now even considering the possibility. It's pretty scary. We're not talking about declines. We're talking about extinction, folks. I've never heard that kind of talk in the 4 or 5 years that I've been researching this. But they're doing it now. So no one can accurately predict the future. But I have to say there is no doubt that we are heading for a worldwide collapse of civilization very soon if we do not immediately take the strongest action to try and stop climate disruption. And we can go into that a little bit more later. Look at this. Oh, back to this. The World Wildlife Fund. They do every 2 years they come out with their assessment, their census of vertebrae also, and they say since 1970 we have lost 60% of the population of vertebrae on Earth. 60% since 1970. Extinctions, that's not all extinctions, but the extinction rate is about 1,000 times what the normal extinction rate is. Species, give or take, live on the order of 100,000 years, some more than that, some a little bit less. And there is a regular background rate of extinctions, but we got it times 1,000 now. 200 species of animal or plant are going extinct every day, approximately. Okay, so 75% of all flying insects have died in the last 27 years. This is a study from Germany. For 27 years, and they've been figuring that out. So look what they say here. Loss of insect diversity and abundance is expected to provide cascading effects on food webs and to jeopardize ecosystem services, the services we need. Our analysis estimates a seasonal decline of 76% and a midsummer decline of 82% in flying insect biomass over the 27 years of this study. We need insects. A lot of them to pollinate our crops. A lot of them as food for other animals, birds especially. If insects disappear, we disappear. But think back on when you drove on the interstate in the summertime going somewhere. How often did you have to stop to clean the windshield? Pretty often, right? When was the last time you had to do it? For insects, not for salt on the highway, but for insects. I bet it's been a long, long time. I once took off in a 727 out of Chicago coming back to New York and flew into a bug storm. I'd never seen it, didn't know it was possible. I could not see a thing out the windshield. I was thinking, what do we do now? And we continued, and eventually they kind of blew off, but, you know, even at 450 knots. There were still quite a few of them there when we landed. Anyway. This was published last July in the PNAS, is the Proceedings of the National Academies of Science. This is known to people as the Hothouse Earth paper, and I'll read you the abstract here. We explore the risk that self-reinforcing feedbacks could push the Earth system towards a planetary threshold that, if crossed, could prevent stabilization of the climate at intermediate temperature rises and cause continued warming on a hothouse Earth pathway even as human emissions are reduced. Crossing the threshold would lead to a much higher global average temperature than at any interglacial period in the past 1.2 million years, and to sea levels significantly higher at any time in the Holocene. We examined the evidence that such a threshold might exist and where it might be. If the threshold is crossed, the resulting trajectory would likely cause serious disruptions to the ecosystems, society, and economies. Collective human action is required to steer the Earth system away from a potential threshold and stabilize it in a habitable interglacial-like state. Such action entails stewardship of the entire Earth system, biosphere, climate, and societies, and could include the decarbonization of the global economy, enhancement of the biosphere carbon sinks, behavioral changes, technological innovations, and new governance arrangements, and transformed societal values. I mean, they're not kidding. These were really smart guys here that did this, and it's pretty serious stuff. Here's just a couple things. This is a 567-page long report on the state of the world's biodiversity for food and agriculture, and they say it's not very good. But this is from the FAO, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Here's another report from 2017, the impact of disasters and crises on agriculture and food security. Look here. How many ranchers in the United States do you see tending their herds with an assault rifle? Maybe the Bundys did it, but look at that. That's what we might be heading for. Doesn't sound so good. What else do we have? Oh, yeah. I can't believe that it's legal for Monsanto's mafia to sell this junk. Yeah, it'll take care of your weeds. We might be a little bit better off if we bent over and pulled the weed out. Better for our health than using this and causing cancer. These people are horrible. The whole reason, the big debate about GMO, there's only one reason for GMOs that this company has patented so many of, to increase their profits. Because GMO plants are resistant to this garbage. You can spray the heck out of them. Then they can take it to market and sell it. It looks pretty on the market shelf because there's no bug bites on it. There are no weeds crowding it out. I don't know. I haven't really researched the biology of it, of the GMO. But I'll tell you what, the only reason is so they can spray it with their stuff. And they can't get all that stuff out of that or off that plant by the time you eat it. That's the reason I don't do GMO stuff. Anyway, we don't need to go there. We're running a little bit late. Let's look at this. The Green New Deal. It's not a secret socialist plot to take over the United States. It's a comprehensive, just, and well thought out resolution. It's not a law. I don't know what the big fuss is. That points the way to a survivable new world. I think anyone who opposes it is really un-American. They take care of everything you can think of in here to retrain and get new jobs for the displaced coal workers, everything, you name it. So the effete senior senator from Iowa, Grassley, said, oh, this is just pie in the sky, when his state of Iowa was underwater with that flood in March. Just doesn't make a lick of sense to me. So some of the anti-Green New Deal noise coming out of our government is that it'll cost trillions of dollars. There are some projections, some people are saying we could have 8 feet of sea level rise in 30 years, folks. Now you tell me, how much do these dopes think it'll cost to simultaneously build a new New York, a new Washington, D.C., a new Miami, new Houston, San Francisco, and all that in 30 years? They think it's going to be a better bet to let things go and flood the cities? I don't understand it. So, look at the mess we're in now. Every day in the news, you can't avoid it. Look at what a few thousand refugees have done to our country. Separating families at the border. It's a crime against humanity. How would you like your children taken from your arms? You wouldn't like it one bit. But the United Nations says because of anthropogenic climate disruption, we could have easily 140 million refugees. Not a few thousand, 140 million by 2050, and maybe 2 billion, 1 out of 9 people alive in 2100. What are you going to do with that? Where are they going to go? Do you just tie them to a stake and let the floodwaters take them in Bangladesh? I tell you what. So, Green New Deal, huh? Anyway, look, here's some good resources. The websites I like are Democracy Now! That's Amy Goodman. She is a no-kidding reporter from way back. She covered the genocide in Indonesia, got jailed for that. Truth Out is a good website by Robert Shear, especially the series Planet or Profit. The Intercept by Jeremy Scahill and Glenn Greenwald has some really good stuff on it. A series on the poisons. NASA and NOAA have good websites on this. Some videos that are very informative. Just type in Dar Jamal videos. He's a fantastic guy, and I would go. He's not a scientist. He's a journalist, but he really knows his stuff. Jem Vendel from England, the Extinction Rebellion, and Greta Thunberg. Just look for videos with them in it, and you'll be amazed at what you see. The Extinction Rebellion. This group has one of the best ideas for making real change that may save the biosphere and us. So check it out. What they, and you're going to see them, they're starting on Monday, worldwide. They're going to start shutting various capitals down. Started in England about last October, and it's grown like wildfire all over the world. The idea is the governments are not listening to us. They're committing really crimes against humanity by prolonging this business as usual in the fossil fuels. These people are going to do nonviolent civil disobedience, and they're prepared to go to jail. The idea behind it is there's not jail space for 10,000 people. There's not enough police or paddy wagons to put them all away. So anyway, keep in mind Extinction Rebellion. There's a lot of videos that they put out, and I think that they're really a going operation. This is Greta Thunberg. She started out last year as a 15-year-old high school student. Here she is. She did it for about 2 weeks straight, striking from school. That's school strike for climate. That's in front of the Parliament building in Stockholm. She's a Swedish teenager. She's also got Asperger's. There was a delightful video of her. I don't know if you know anything about Asperger's syndrome, but they don't talk unless they really have something to say. And they can't lie. They can't tell something is untrue. I don't know why, but that's just, might be good if we all had that, don't you think? But anyway, but here she is with the Secretary General of the United Nations at the conference of the parties last December in Katowice, Poland. So some people are trying to recommend her for a Nobel Peace Prize. Here's Dar Jamal's latest book, and it's really something. He travels the world to talk with the scientists that are really knowing about climate disruption. Here's another book you might enjoy by a friend of ours, Edwin Matthews, who lives up here in Washington Depot. He's been an environmentalist and a lawyer since the, I don't know, 30s or 40s. He's a little bit older than I am, believe it or not. But this is a nice book. It's about the wildness around us in Litchfield County. I mean, it's Litchfield Country Journal, but it just means being outside. But it's nicely done, nicely illustrated, nice little things about the flora and fauna around here. Anyway, thank you. Look, we're not going to solve this unless we all do what we can. In November, right around Thanksgiving, a day, I don't remember, maybe it was the day after Thanksgiving, my youngest granddaughter was born. Beautiful little thing. So her natural lifespan would take her to 2100. I'd like her to have a good life. The way we're headed, it's going to affect all of us in this room. It already has, to some extent, but more and more and more. I thought, hey, I'm going to escape it. But my kids are going to be affected, and my grandchildren are not going to have a chance. And that's the way I thought. But it's accelerating. It's going to get us to more extent. So anyway, do what you can. Look at that Extinction Rebellion. If you have any questions, I'll answer them now, but best I can. If you want to contact me, email is montyrobson@gmail.com. But put in the subject something about climate change, or I'll probably throw it in the trash. Or you can call me at home. That's my number. Or if you don't remember that or don't want to write it down, we're in the New Milford phone book. So anyway, that's it, folks. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try and answer them.